Hi everyone, and thanks so much for joining our latest webcast recording. Today we're joined by the COO of the City Lodge Hotel Group, Lindiwe Sangweni-Siddo, and we're going to be talking about hotel industry trends for 2021. Thank you, Lindiwe, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for having me, and really looking forward to our chat.
So we were chatting earlier and we were saying it's February, the latest restrictions have just been eased and we're all feeling a lot more hopeful for 2021. Have you seen any particular booking patterns starting to emerge, and what are your predictions for the year?
So I think one of the biggest milestones for this week is certainly the family meeting that we had with our president on Monday, because I think that just brought a lot of hope to all of us. There was some very specific easing of restrictions that took place that will have an immediate impact. You know, opening of the beaches, as an example for us, at our coastal hotels in Durban, in Umhlanga, Port Elizabeth, and wherever we have hotels, Cape Town, and not just for us, but I think for the entire industry, is a big thing because we are very reliant currently on the domestic market traveling. With the restrictions on international travel, we are not likely to see our typical travel patterns from international guests as we would have enjoyed in the past, given the, this unprecedented, impact that the pandemic has everywhere in the world. So domestic tourism in November was beginning for us and for the rest of the hospitality industry to just start peaking at the right numbers. We were humming along very nicely. And then unfortunately, the onset of the second, wave, I think really put a big dampener on what we had expected. We had expected higher occupancies because the leisure market, domestic tourism was going to take place. People were going to take a break. It was the festive season. That didn't take place. So the predictions going forward, I believe we will see a comeback of whatever was missed in terms of the family getaways that had to be cancelled, the little break that a group of families or friends and anyone just felt that they, would have enjoyed in December and had to forfeit it. So February and March are likely to be just much better months in that regard. I think also with the easing of restrictions, we are likely to see a little bit more movement from, the business travelers that we had been seeing in the last quarter of last year, once again getting back on the road and, beginning to do their road travel. January is over, and January is all about worrying about school fees and catching up on, kids' uniforms and stationery, and I think that's behind us. And so at a domestic and local and, local tourism level, I have a feeling and our prediction is that we will see a much more buoyant movement. When I say buoyant, it's relative. I'm not talking about the numbers pre-COVID, but I'm really talking about where we were before we were rudely interrupted in November.
Great. Well, it's lovely to hear such an optimistic outlook. So one of the things you touched on is sort of corporate travelers being a little bit slower to return than leisure travelers. And I was wondering, the City Lodge Hotel Group, have you adapted your product in any way to focus more on a leisure offering during this time?
Yes, we've done that a lot. And we had started that last year already. We immediately recognized that local travelers and domestic travelers would increase naturally, because those would have been individuals that would have typically maybe traveled outside of South Africa and had planned holidays elsewhere. We definitely began to adjust our product to become much more child-friendly. We've always been child-friendly, but just anticipating a family of 4, a family of 6, a family with children, and really wanting to make sure that our products are, in line with that. So being sort of the select service economy offering that we are, our room rates are always very attractive. And for a family traveling and wanting to watch costs and having to think about food, entertainment, accommodation, I think we sit very nicely in that space. We've adapted in terms of the type of food offerings. We've never really been a hotel group that is associated with a lot of food offerings, but we've really played a lot of sort of had fun and played around with different offerings. Every single one of our hotels now offers a nice hot pizza. It sounds strange talking about that, but we've also found that the traveler wants everything under one roof, as opposed to checking in and then going to have to forage and look for what next they're going to eat with the family. So pizzas go down very well, especially if you're traveling with young ones. We've introduced beautiful light snacks, light meals. Given that we have 4 different brands, it's also allowed us greater exploration in food and beverage offerings in our Courtyard brand and in our City Lodge brand. And we've even gone as far as anticipating all the upcoming holidays. So for example, the month of love is a perfect month, given that the alcohol ban has been eased, because we already had this beautiful picnic for 2, or partners who want to enjoy Valentine's on the weekend of the 13th and the 14th. And so we've got this beautiful package which can be enjoyed across the nation and across the country. And I think people who have cabin fever are looking for those type of solutions. The other one, which might not necessarily be attuned to the leisure market, is what we call your private office, and we're tagging it #YPO, your private office. So many corporates and business people like myself and yourself probably have been working from home or in limited numbers at the office. And so we've also created this opportunity where you can actually leave your little cabin and come into our space safe. We follow the protocols. We've set up some of our rooms to act as your office away from your office, and just give you that feeling that you are not cooped in, having to worry about dealing with your sort of domestic issues whilst you're trying to be at the office. So those are some of the things that have been happening, Sarah.
That sounds lovely, and I hope it works to draw people out of their homes.
Yes.
Great. So I was recently reading sort of a list of ASATA trends for 2021, and one of the things that they mentioned is that they predicted that there would be a growing demand for hotel accommodation bookings over the course of this year. And so the reasoning behind it was just saying that people would maybe be more likely to book with an established brand, sort of feeling that there are sort of formal COVID policies in place that will keep them safe from the virus. And I was just wondering, I mean, what do you think of that prediction? And do you think that you'll be seeing that over the course of this year?
Yes, I think ASATA's predictions are spot on. Besides just being naturally an optimist, I think even if you just look at what is likely to happen, so there are a number of things that are going to work in our favor. Let's start with the vaccinations. The very fact that our rollout of vaccinations is soon to be underway brings a big sigh of relief, because it means that we begin to address the whole process of getting our nation, as the president and his cabinet have put it, into population immunity or herd immunity. So that for us is a great assurance, and that the hospitality industry, the travel industry, is one of the priority citizens. So citizens have been prioritized according to age, according to being essential workers. We very fortunately fall into the realm that would be alongside essential service workers, because if you have a healthy tourism staffing sample, it's just much more attractive to anyone who wants to travel, knowing that you're checking into a hotel or checking into a hospitality establishment where the staff have already been immunized with the vaccination is going to definitely be of great comfort to many. So that I want to underscore and highlight. But coming back to the ASATA trends, I think the reason that they're correct is, first of all, there'll just be greater confidence as we begin to see the numbers, as we've seen them coming down substantially. There is a lag in the death rate, but certainly the transmission rate is now sitting at much lower levels. And that confidence level that was lacking, I think, is going to return into the traveler. Coming to COVID protocols, City Lodge Hotel Group was one of the first groups way ahead when we first heard of the unfortunate COVID pandemic. We made it a big point and a big thing to make sure that every single establishment, every single hotel under our stead had leaders in the general management leadership that would embrace the COVID protocols as defined by the World Health Organization, so that we were sitting at global standards. We participated actively with the National Department of Tourism, with FEDHASA, with Tourism Business Council of South Africa, all the major associations, during the time when protocols were being sort of institutionalized and brought into one consistent delivery, so that everyone in the country who has a hospitality establishment or travel related business would be following similar protocols. So I think you're right, Sarah, and so is Asata in their prediction, in their trends, that travelers, business travelers especially, or travelers for leisure, will want to check into establishments that they feel assured that their safety is looked after. So our focus has always been our people first. And if our people are safe and know how to keep themselves safe, they will then pass that on in terms of looking after the guests that check in. We've had wonderful feedback on our guest rating surveys, with guests really applauding us for our protocols and that clean, sanitized environment. We've also received good feedback for any short sites or blind spots that we may have, and we've always taken action. We audited every single operating hotel of ours, and this will be an ongoing practice, that our usual hygiene audits will extend and be expanded, and have been expanded into making sure that the COVID protocols are also put through an audit to ensure that every hotel remains consistent and makes sure that our guests continue to feel assured. So I think booking patterns are going to improve. We can already feel it. We're beginning to see an upward movement, not as buoyant as it was or as busy as it was in November, as we were beginning to feel, but we can see that we're now on an upward trajectory in terms of the movement in our forecast. So it is very, it's very consoling. I think based on what we've also had in our sort of predictions, I think we'll all as a nation be seeing a much better sort of upward increase in business in the economy in the third quarter of this year, where most of us would have acclimatized. People are far much more conscious now, even in their homes, in businesses. Nobody wants to get sick. And I think those who don't pay attention are the exception to the rule. Most people are very respectful of our protocols and want to participate in making sure that livelihoods come back, so that this economy, the South African economy, can continue to recover.
That is all such reassuring information. Thank you so much. Well, I think that's a really good note to end our chat on.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you for this opportunity. And I think I'm declaring the month of love, February, as the month where we can really all use, when we sign off anyway, #hope and #new beginnings. Wishing everyone out there all the best.